Okay. Michael Glanville from Portland, Oregon writes, I have a question for Charles Coulombe regarding his new book, Star Spangled Crown.
Oh, boy.
Why is it important that whoever becomes king has to have a royal pedigree and lineage? Can't the Pope just coronate anyone?
Well, yes and no. The reason why it's important is because a big part of the legitimacy of a king or an emperor is not only the fact that he's received the quasi-sacramental rite of coronation, but also that he is a physical link with the past. This is why even when new houses have taken over, like Tudor in England, even Bonaparte, Bernadette in Sweden, almost inevitably, they seek to cement their legitimacy by marrying a princess of the former house. And that's why today, I mean, you look at Britain, and on the one hand, they've gone through so many changes in royal houses, but on the other, Queen Elizabeth can say quite honestly that she is a direct descendant of Alfred the Great.
Wow.
And contrariwise, because her mother had some Stuart blood, and that is a claim that she can quite happily make, and it's true. Similarly, the Queen of Denmark, Margaret II, through these sorts of permutations, can talk about descending directly from Gorm the Old, who was the King of Denmark about 1000. That is a part, it's not the only part, but it's a part of the legitimacy of kings. Because, in a nutshell, if I have a king, and I can look at him and know that his ancestors ruled my ancestors 1,000 years ago, he and I have a history, even if I've never met him. One of the things that's difficult for us Americans, unless we're American Indians, to realize, and it's also difficult for Europeans to realize it from looking at us from the outside, is that although we dress and look like Europeans usually, there are some major differences. And one of them is that in Europe, you can literally say, my people were here 1,000 years ago. You can't do that here, unless you're part Indian. You just can't. And that makes for a difference in outlook that we're not even aware of. We're a nation of strangers, and we've invented various substitutes for that, and by and large they've worked fairly well, at least up until now. But that's something we don't have. So when you look at a king, it's always very helpful for them to be able to claim honestly that they descend from the heroes of old who first started the nation. Even Bonaparte, was quick to marry a Habsburg empress. Now, why was this important? The Habsburgs are, in a sense, the oldest house in Europe. And in the female line, like the Bourbons of France and elsewhere, they descend from Charlemagne. And what was Napoleon's big deal? That he was going to be the successor of Charlemagne, Emperor of France, but in a sense, Emperor of Europe. So for what he was setting out to do, this kind of legitimacy for himself, and more importantly for his son, was very, very important. It didn't work, as we know, but he was operating under the same principle.